All right, let's dive right into some incredibly intense esoteric texts. Today's explainer is all about decoding a deeply complex and honestly, a frequently misunderstood figure within the Qliphothic traditions, the archetype of Lilith. If you've ever been curious about the profound, and let's be real, somewhat intimidating architecture of the left-hand path, you are absolutely in the right place.
To really grasp our subject today, we first have to ask a pretty massive question. What actually resides in the shadow of the Tree of Life? Well, according to occult tradition, right beyond our structured, everyday cosmic order lies something known as the night side, or the Qliphoth. This is a realm of pure, primal chaos governed by some seriously formidable archetypal forces. Actually, scratch the idea that it's just a place of darkness. The texts describe it more like a giant mirror, reflecting absolutely everything that the structured universe represses.
In this explainer, we're going to map this all out. 1. Who is Lilith? 2. Principles and dark qualities. 3. Her manifested forms. 4. Invoking the dark goddess. And 5. Interacting and initiation.
Kicking things off with Section 1, Who is Lilith?
Now, in these specific traditions, Lilith isn't defined just as some demon you're supposed to be afraid of, not at all. She is the queen of Sitra Achra, the other side. Basically, she is the literal personification of the raw, untamed subconscious. Specifically, she operates as the ruler within the Qlipha known as Gamaliel. Gamaliel is associated with the Black Moon, and it rules over the entire nocturnal realm. We're talking dreams and the deepest, most hidden layers of the human psyche. Esoteric scholars actually set up a really fascinating contrast here. On one side, you have the traditional cosmic order, which is often represented by Malkuth and the archetype of Eve. That cosmic order represents static stability, the laws of nature, and the preservation of what they call the clay ego. But Lilith's Qliphothic realm? Completely different. It embodies irrational truth, pure chaos, and the deliberate destruction of those very limitations so the practitioner can achieve a higher state of awareness. And her archetype is incredibly layered. The source texts literally categorize her expressions across entirely different spheres of the Qliphoth. For instance, in Nehemoth, she acts as the Dark Earth Mother, which is essentially a dark mirror of the physical plane. Then, in Gamaliel, she's the initiator of the other side, ruling over dreams and astral realms. And way down in the deep abyss of Sathariel, she transforms into the divine Dark Mother, representing the ultimate cosmic void and primordial darkness.
Moving right along to Section 2, Principles and Dark Qualities. So what does Lilith actually embody? Well, to the practitioner, she represents the absolute shattering of societal dogmas. We're talking about complete freedom of will, raw and untamed female sexuality, and those deep, profound nocturnal visions. She actively utilizes repressed desires, what the texts vividly refer to as the venomous tides of the unconscious, to completely dismantle the limited, illusory human ego and destroy any sense of false virtue. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. Her core principle is the triumph of irrational, completely unfiltered truth. In this framework, the illusions built by our everyday rational consciousness are essentially viewed as a prison. Lilith represents the sanctity and the absolute truth of the unconscious breaking right out of that prison.
Which brings us to Section 3, Her Manifested Forms.
Because she represents the formless chaos of the subconscious, the texts point out that her visual manifestations to practitioners are just incredibly varied. There isn't just one fixed image here. She appears as shifting faces of the Dark Mother. She might manifest as a dark silhouette surrounded by serpents, or maybe the spider goddess weaving webs of destiny. She could appear as a beautiful, pale woman with fiery red hair, or even a genuinely terrifying corpse-like entity. Each form directly reflects the deepest fears, desires, and energetic needs of the individual mind that's interacting with her. And listen, these terrifying and sometimes deeply alluring visions aren't just there for shock value. They serve a highly specific purpose. They act as a mirror. By presenting these intense manifestations, the archetype of Lilith literally forces the initiate to confront the rawest, most unpolished aspects of their own inner shadow. You just cannot hide from yourself when you're looking into this mirror.
Let's look at the actual practice in Section 4, Invoking the Dark Goddess. Now, as you can probably guess, invoking Lilith is absolutely not something done lightly. The source texts frame it as a highly deliberate method for profound psychological and magical transformation.
Practitioners are looking to unearth repressed sexuality, so they can use it as raw energetic power. They invoke her to master astral travel and to break through some seriously deep psychocosmic blocks. It's all about harnessing the immense energy of repressed passions for true personal empowerment and occult success.
But engaging with this chaotic force is surprisingly structured. The architecture of the left-hand path maps out very precise seals, sigils of the rulers, and specific vibrational formulas that you actually need to safely open the gates to Gamaliel. This isn't just winging it. It requires immense discipline, highly specific tools, and a really deep understanding of occult mapping. Finally, we hit Section 5, Interacting and Initiation. Within this esoteric framework, interacting with Lilith and undergoing magical initiation kicks off what is basically a grueling, sequential death of the old self. The practitioner has to descend into the subconscious night, confront their own shadow and astral nightmares face to face, and undergo the total destruction of their false ego. By stripping away mundane attachments and societal programming, the whole goal is to be reborn with sovereign clarity, to become a creator in your own right, armed with dark gnosis. It is absolutely crucial to understand this next point. In this tradition, the darkness and terror she brings, they aren't seen as evil in any conventional sense, not at all. They are purifying tools. The text phrases it so beautifully, saying, "The venom of the black moon becomes the elixir of liberation." The very things that would poison a static, mundane mind are exactly what incinerate stagnation and force radical psychological evolution for the initiate.
There's a central invocation used by practitioners, Ama Lilith Liftot Qliphoth, which roughly translates to a demand for the Dark Mother to open the Qliphoth. It's this incredibly powerful chant, almost like a sonic key, used to rip away the veil between our everyday conscious reality and the profound, terrifying unknown of the other side. So ultimately, this whole esoteric study challenges us with a pretty profound psychological question. What raw, transformative power might you actually uncover if you just stopped running from the darkest corners of your own mind? Are you prepared to stare into the mirror of your own deepest shadow? That is the real heavy lifting of this explainer. Thanks so much for joining me, and as always, keep questioning the nature of your own reality.